Hello everybody, welcome back to American Textbook Reading. I'm your host, Brian Stuart. Today we're looking at Book 3, Lesson 4. And the title of this lesson is Animals with and Without Backbones. We'll talk about that shortly. In this lesson, you will discover names for body parts and also how to classify different types of animals. Interesting. Let's get started, okay? First of all, like I said, the title of the unit is Animals with and Without Backbones. But what is a backbone? A backbone is the line of bones down your back. Now, don't be confused about this. It looks like, oh, backbone is one bone? No. The backbone is many different smaller bones. In us, in human beings, and most other animals, they're little discs. It's like a little disc, and they stack on top of each other. And it's a line of bones, and they're all connected with tissue. But these little bones, it's kind of a difficult word. Let me spell it for you. Vertebrae. So vertebrae. Vertebrae. That's a little more of a difficult word, more of a scientific word, maybe a medical word. Most people just say backbone, but it's not one bone, it's many bones. In fact, in humans, we have 33 of these bones. 33 vertebrae. Wow, that's many bones connected by tissue in our back, from our neck all the way to the bottom of our back. So those are vertebrae. That is the backbone. And of course, many other bones, like your ribs, come out from the backbone. The backbone is very important for us and many animals like us. But not all living things have backbones. We'll see that. Okay, continue. Next, we have covering. Now, here's an animal, insect, that does not have a backbone. Instead, it has a covering. Cover. To cover means to put on top of something. When you get in bed at night, you pull up the cover, right? It covers you. Some animals have a covering. It's a hard covering, right? Tuck, tuck, tuck. A covering is just a layer of something over something else. Like you in your bed, you have a covering, a blanket over you. It covers you. It's a layer of blanket or material, cotton, whatever, over you when you sleep to keep you warm. Insects have a hard covering, tuck, 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 right? That protects them. They don't have a backbone. Okay, next. Shell. A shell is a type of covering. Think about a crab, right? Don't get hungry, okay? But a shell, the hard outer covering of some animals is a shell, right? You see, crabs are very tough, aren't they? They've got the hard shell on their back. What's another animal with a shell? A snail, right? Snails have shells also. They carry the covering around on their back. Let's take a look at a video of an interesting crab changing its shell. Okay, let's take a look at this. This is what we call a hermit crab, right? He backed into that shell, he put it on his back, and now he's got a new home. Sometimes you can see hermit crabs, hermit, H-E-R-M-I-T, hermit crab. A hermit crab, it grows, but the shell doesn't grow. So when the hermit crab gets too big, he can't fit in his shell anymore. What does he do? He gets out of his shell and finds a new shell. And then he has a new home. Okay, so very interesting. Hermit crabs are very interesting. Sometimes they're cute too, right? Okay. Next word is hop. Hop is a verb, right? And maybe you play some games where you hop. Hop means to jump, but not a long jump, a short jump, like hop, 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 right? If you play hopscotch, right? Hopscotch, that's a game. I'm sure you're familiar with it. In America, I think it has been a long time since I played hopscotch, but usually people will have a diagram like this, right? And they will hop. They'll hop in the first square, then they'll hop in the second square, and they hop and they put both legs here for this one, and they hop both legs here. So this one's kind of like that. Yeah, it's called hopscotch, and it's a game that kids play, and they hop. This little jumps from one position to another. And we can see a video of something hopping. Look at this bird. It's going to hop, right? It's moving around. Now, see how it hops? It doesn't walk, right? It hops, right? It goes from place to place by hopping. Birds don't walk very well. Their bodies aren't built to walk, but they can hop very well. And of course, they can fly very well too. So that is to hop. Okay. Now, birds can also glide, and some other, not just birds, but mammals. This is a bat, okay? And animals with wings can glide. Glide means to fly by floating on the air, right? So, in other words, the bat or the bird doesn't have to beat its wings. It doesn't have to beat or flap. Sometimes you could say flap its wings, right? Beat its wings or flap its wings, that's when it, it has to give energy to make the wings go back and forth so it can take off. But when they're in the air and they want to go down, it's very easy. They don't have to use any energy. They just turn their wings and they glide down through the air. Very easy, very calm, no energy needed. Okay, so to fly by floating on the air. You can glide too if you get older and you want to hang glide. Hang glide, that's pretty cool. Hang glide. That's where you go out with a sports company, right? And they give you a little, it's like a big kite, and you hold on. You jump off a cliff. You don't fall, but you glide down, and it's really cool. So maybe one day you can try that. That is to glide. Okay, our next word is to protect. Now we saw before covering and shell. Those are hard surfaces. Well, covering doesn't have to be hard, but a shell is a hard surface. Why do crabs have a shell? Because they want to be protected. They want to protect themselves from other animals. Turtles also have a shell on their back because they want to be protected. The shell protects them. It keeps them safe from damage. Other creatures like birds or dogs or wolves or whatever might want to eat the turtle. So the turtle, can stick its head in and its legs and its arms, and it's protected because it's a hard shell. Nothing can get inside the shell. So the turtle is safe. Okay? Our next word is flying squirrel. 2 words, flying squirrel. So it's interesting. Like I said before, not just birds can fly, right? We saw bats. Bats can fly. Squirrels can fly too. Although squirrels don't really flap their wings or beat their wings, squirrels climb up. Using their legs, they'll climb up a tree, right? And they'll climb up really high in a tree. And if they look around, they say, oh, I want to go to that tree. They don't have to climb all the way down and climb back up. No, they just jump off the tree and they spread their legs and they have like a skin covering and they can glide to the next tree. It's like their own hang glider built in to their body. That's pretty cool, huh? So flying squirrel is an animal with a long tail that lives in trees and can glide. Just basically a squirrel. If you go walking in the woods near your house, I'm sure you can see many squirrels, but these are special squirrels. Most squirrels don't have those wings or the covering, but flying squirrels do. They're very interesting animals. Okay. Our next word is a grasshopper. That's an interesting, right? It's one word, but think about it. It's like two words put together. Two words put together. The first word is grass. Now you know grass. Grass is the green plant, the short plant that grows in a lawn, maybe at your school, or when you're walking down the street, you see a nice area of green, right? Little blades of plant. That's grass. You can lay on the grass. It's cool. It's comfortable. It smells good, right? And there's dirt underneath the grass, right? So it's a natural area. So we have grass, and then we have, remember the word we just learned? Hop. To hop, right? But hop is a verb. A person who hops, or a thing that hops, is a hopper. So if you hop, you are a hopper because you hop, right? If you walk, you are a walker. Same idea, right? So ER means, somebody who does something. At a restaurant, someone who waits. Waiter. Okay, good. Okay, so a grasshopper is a thing that hops in the grass, right? If you look in the grass, you might see grasshoppers. They're little insects that look like this. They're green, so it's hard to see them. Smart grasshopper, right? They have long back legs. Look at these legs. Wow, they're so long, right? Those legs can extend like this very quickly, and so the insect, the grasshopper, can jump really high. Imagine if your legs were like that. Wow, you could play basketball really well, and you dunk the basketball, right? That'd be amazing. But maybe it's a good idea that we don't have legs like that, because maybe we could hit our head in buildings, right, in the classroom. So I don't know. Anyway, an insect with long back legs that can jump very high. That is a grasshopper. Okay, so very interesting words for this lesson. I hope you learned some good words there. We're going to use those in the reading coming up next. Okay, before we get into the reading, let's talk about different types of animals, okay? Now, we have two classifications. On the top, we have animals with backbones, and on the bottom, we have animals without backbones. So on the top, we see many different types of animals with backbones, and that's interesting. And part of the interesting part about that is that all these animals with backbones share similar body design. What do I mean by that? In other words, animals that have backbones usually only have 4 appendages, like 2 arms and 2 legs. You don't see animals with backbones having 6 legs, or like a dragon, two wings and 4 legs, right? That doesn't exist, obviously. Dragons are not real, okay? But animals with backbones, there's many types of animals with backbones. They diversified over a very long time through evolution, right? They evolved for different environments, okay? First of all, we have mammals. We are mammals, right? We are warm-blooded, right? We give birth to live young babies, right? Those are mammals. Horses are mammals. Dogs are mammals. There are many types of mammals. All mammals have backbones, and we talked about backbones before. What are backbones, right? Also, who else has backbones? Reptiles. Reptiles are a class of creature that are cold-blooded. Cold-blooded. They don't adjust their body temperature to the outside temperature, right? They need the sun to warm up. That's why you see lizards in the sun. They're using the sun's energy to warm up and get energy. Mammals don't need to do that. And of course, reptiles also lay eggs. They don't give birth to live young. There are 1 or 2 exceptions, okay? But usually, reptiles do not give birth to live young. Then we have amphibians. From a previous lesson, we learned that amphibians are animals that live in the water and on land. They can live on both environments, but they need water to survive. They can't live in the desert, for example. You don't see many frogs in the Sahara Desert. You don't see any frogs in the Sahara Desert. They can't survive. They need water. They can live underwater. They can live on land. They use both environments to live in, but they have backbones as well. Now, birds. What are birds? Birds are, you could say, are a kind of reptile. They're actually descended from dinosaurs. You know, people say, oh, the dinosaurs are extinct. No more. Actually, that's not exactly true. Birds are the babies, the long distant babies of reptiles. Not all reptiles died a long time ago. Some reptiles survived and their young evolved into the birds we see today. So imagine a 10-foot tall robin. Whew, scary. Okay, but that's kind of what the dinosaurs a long time ago were like. Now, fish are in a separate class by themselves, right? They can breathe underwater. They do have backbones though, and they also have bones that look like arms and legs, but you can't really see them because they're in their fins, okay? But they do have bones. Many fish do have bones in the structure. Not all fish, of course, but many of them do. And all the animals with backbones also have ribs, right? Bones that protect the internal organs. So mostly the same design, a very similar design over all of these different species of animals. Now, those are all animals that we're familiar with. They all have backbones. On the bottom, of course, we're also familiar with insects, but have you really thought about the body type of an insect? Insects don't have backbones. You may be surprised to know that. Actually, insects don't really have bones at all. They have what we talked about before, hard coverings. Like a grasshopper has hard coverings, or sometimes it's soft, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's in between, right? A little soft, a little hard, but these provide the structure for the body of the insect. If an animal didn't have a backbone or bones, or it didn't have a hard covering to give it structure, you know, it wouldn't be able to stand up, right? It wouldn't be able to move. It just kind of maybe go from one place to another. It would be very difficult for it to move. So animals, insects have hard coverings that help them move around and also that protect them. Okay, so over here we see a grasshopper, right? We already talked about a grasshopper, but what is this bug here? What's the name of that bug? A bug, by the way, insect, we also say bug. Maybe you saw the movie It's a Bug's Life. Bug is an informal word for insect. And that's kind of like what the name of this insect is on the right-hand side. We call that a ladybug. Interesting name. But ladybugs are kind of cute, right? And they have that very nice pattern, the red shell with the black dots. And they fly away. That shell kind of separates, and that's the wings, actually. And they can fly, right? They're a type of beetle. Okay, so those are animals with backbones and animals without backbones. So when we talk about insects, you know, they're kind of interesting because they don't have backbones, but they do have different parts. And again, they have parts that animals with backbones don't have, right? Like I said before, animals with backbones, they all kind of follow the same structure, the same pattern of body parts. But insects are different. They have different body parts than we do. We don't have, for example, antenna. Have you ever seen a person with antenna? That'd be crazy, wouldn't it? Be pretty cool, maybe also. Maybe in a movie you've seen a person with antenna, right? Okay, but antenna, what are antenna? And that's this word here, antenna. And you can see on the beetle here, the antenna are here, right? Those are the antenna. And they're like little arms, really, that stick out from the head of the insect. They're not as strong as arms, right? But they're little appendages that stick out. Now, antennae are very useful for insects. They do many things. They can help an insect feel, right? If it's underground, there's no light. It can't see. So it can feel its way. Oh, there's a wall here, there's a wall there, and it can feel its way along the tunnel. Antenna, the insect can taste something. Oh, is it good or is it something I shouldn't eat? Some insects can hear through their antenna, right? They pick up the vibrations of sound and they can hear. And smell. Sometimes you see videos of ants, right? And two ants come together and they're touching each other with their antenna. What they're doing is they're smelling each other and they're saying, do you belong to my colony, my tribe, or are you from a different tribe? Are you a friend or are you an enemy? So insects will use their antenna to figure that out. They can do many things with their antenna. Okay, antennae are cool, huh? The next thing is a shell. Animals with backbones don't have shells, right? Well, I'm sorry, some do, like a turtle has a shell. Sorry about that. Turtles do have shells, and they do have backbones. But many other animals that don't have backbones, like a crab. Now, a crab is not an insect. Let's make sure we know that. A crab is not an insect. But it does have a shell and it doesn't have a backbone. So the shell of a crab helps keep the crab safe. As we talked about before, it protects the crab, right? And the crab doesn't have a backbone, but it needs a shell to be able to move. And you got to be careful with the crabs, right? They have those pinchers, those claws at the end. So be careful. Don't touch crabs. Don't play with crabs. But crabs have very strong shells on most of their parts of the body. They have them on the pinchers, on their arms, on their legs, and on their back, and those help protect the crab from danger. Now, over here we have another insect, an ant. An ant has 6 legs. Wow. Crabs have many legs too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This crab in the picture has 10 legs, right? So animals without backbones have different patterns for their body parts, right? Like I said before, most animals with backbones will follow the same pattern. Two arms, maybe 2 legs, or 4 legs, right? Like a dog, but 4, right? It doesn't have 6, it doesn't have 8, it has 4. But animals without backbones have different body patterns, right? Because they evolved a long time ago. They split off from animals with backbones. So insects can have many legs. Think about a millipede or a centipede. Ooh, they're kind of gross, right? But they have many legs and they're crawling around on the forest floor. Okay, so anyway, 6 legs of an ant help it climb on smooth or rough places. If an insect has many legs, it helps it to climb and to grab onto things. Think about a spider, right? A spider has 8 legs, right? Helps it to build the web and to hold on to things, right? Okay, so that's very interesting. Different parts of animals without backbones. Okay, well, let's begin the reading. Okay, let's read the passage together. And we highlighted the words from the vocabulary. We can see how they are used in this reading passage to help us learn more about animals with and without backbones. So let's begin. Bones give an animal its shape. They help an animal move. Bones help to protect an animal. Okay. Some animals have backbones and some do not. Mammals, reptiles, amphibians, birds, and fish have backbones. We can say all of these animals have backbones. Birds have wings and they can fly. A flying squirrel does not have wings, but it can glide like birds. Some animals have hard coverings or shells, not backbones. Insects do not have backbones. They have hard coverings. The coverings help insects move and protect them. Insects have 6 legs. They can climb very well. Many insects can hop. A grasshopper can hop a very long way. A grasshopper has wings. It can also fly. A crab does not have a backbone. It has a shell. The shell protects it. A crab can swim like a fish. Turtles are unusual animals. They have backbones and shells, right? So sometimes it's hard to classify animals. If you say turtles are unusual, that means un means not, right? So they are not usual, they are not normal, right? They are unusual animals. They have backbones and they have shells, right? So that's the thing about nature, though. There's so many different types of animals. And you think, oh, I classify all these animals into this one group, but wait, there's another animal that doesn't quite fit. Or maybe sometimes he's like this classification, but sometimes it's like this classification. So some animals have like legs or arms in both classifications. And that's very interesting. And that's what scientists, biologists are very interested in. Okay, let's go over the reading skill for this lesson here. And as we can see from the reading passage and from the ideas in this unit, we are comparing and contrasting two different things. It's more of a contrast. Contrast is how are things different, right? How are things, different. How are things different? And compare is how are things the same? The same. How are things the same? How are things different? Did you notice something there? Don't use the with different, but we do use the with same. How are things the same? How are things different? Okay, so we can see animals that have backbones are different from animals that don't have backbones. So we can also say that some of them are alike, or we can compare some things. For example, on the left-hand side, we can see how some animals are alike. How are they the same? On the right-hand side, we can see how some animals are different. So how are they the same? How are they different? Okay, let's take a look. So first we have under alike, we see fish and crabs can beep. Okay, so in the reading passage, what did it say about fish and crabs? It said that both of them can do what? Swim. Both of them can swim in the water. So that's how fish and crabs are alike. That is how fish and crabs are the same, right? In that way, not always, but in that way, they are the same. They can both swim, but they are also different because fish have beep, crabs have shells. Well, what is the whole idea of this unit? We're talking about animals that have backbones and animals that don't have backbones. Crabs have shells, and fish have backbones, right? So that's our word there. Backbones. Crabs don't have backbones. What am I doing? Sorry about that. I was typing background because I was writing and thinking at the same time. Oh, speaking and writing, and that never works, okay? So backbones. Fish have backbones, not backgrounds. That's strange. Fish have backbones. Crabs have shells, okay? That's how they're different. So in some ways, things can be the same, but in other ways, those same things can be different, right? And that's true for almost everything. Think about you and your brother or your sister, right? In some ways, you're the same. In other ways, you are different. So we can compare and contrast almost anything, right? Okay, most human beings, though, are pretty much the same in many important ways. That's a good thing to remember. Okay, good. Okay, coming down, the next one, we're comparing and contrasting birds and grasshoppers. So how are birds and grasshoppers the same? Well, birds and grasshoppers both have wings. That's how they're the same, right? And they can do what? If an animal has wings, what can it do? It can fly, right? Fly. Yeah, let's make the F obvious. Okay, they can fly. So birds and grasshoppers have wings and they can fly. That's how they are the same. But how are they different? Well, birds have backbones. Grasshoppers don't have backbones. Grasshoppers have hard what? Remember the word from the vocabulary? I think it was the second word. Grasshoppers have hard coverings. Remember, something that covers something else. In this case, it covers, a covering is something that covers something else, right? So they have hard coverings. Whether it's a really tough skin or a shell, they have hard coverings. And grasshoppers, when it says they, that means the last thing that we talked about, and that would be grasshoppers. So they refer back to grasshoppers. They can beep a long way. Grasshoppers have really long legs. Remember we talked about that? And when they extend those legs, what can they do? They can hop. That's why they're called grasshoppers, because they can hop. They can hop a long way, right? So grasshoppers can hop a long way. So, like I said before, we can compare and contrast animals, or almost anything really, and we can say, how are they the same and how are they different? Okay, so in this unit we can see very interesting features or types of different animals. Most animals that we know and are familiar with have backbones, right? Mammals, fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, they all have backbones. But of course there's many, many, many other types of animals that maybe we don't think about a lot. We just think, oh, they're like pestering us, or we don't like them that much, like mosquitoes or well, spiders are good insects. But anyway, maybe we don't think about them that often, but they're really different and they're very amazing, really. They have much different body parts than other animals with backbones. So, kind of interesting. So, in this lesson, we learned about types of animals that have backbones, types of animals that don't have backbones, and we learned some words or vocabulary to describe the different parts of animals, especially animals without backbones. Okay, well, I hope you learned a lot this lesson. Actually, I did too. So a very interesting lesson. It's very cool to think about this type of feature of science, biology. Okay, very interesting part of science. Okay, well, thanks for listening with me. Thanks for studying with me, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.